Hey guys, it's TF Nut. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another action figure review. This is going to be of the Jazwares and Wicked Cool Toys Halo the Spartan Collection Master Chief from Halo Combat Evolved. As I kept collecting these figures ever since, when they started in 2020 with Halo Infinite's Master Chief, which I ended up really liking that Master Chief figure. Over time, with some of these figures I've gotten that I haven't reviewed, I just kind of kept getting disinterested in the line. I feel like the figures have just gotten mediocre and they're not all that great, unfortunately. This one, though, I think looks really good. This is part of Series 5 and also a Gamestop exclusive 2-pack that comes with an infinite version of Master Chief that we've gotten a lot of times from this toy line. So I'm going to give this line one more try with this Master Chief, and if I'm not digging it, I may have to drop it and just not complete Noble Team, which was my original goal. Anyway, let's just go through the packaging pretty quick. It's pretty nice. Master Chief on the top here with the UNSC logo, Halo Combat Evolved, with accessories on the side. It's going to say the Spartan Collection figure in the box with some of the contents there. Bottom half of the packaging, it does say Halo, ages 8 and up in 8 pieces. Not much going on this side except towards the bottom there, a UNSC logo that looks pretty cool. When you zoom in here, really nice little icon of Master Chief right there. On this side, not much going on because it just has UNSC molded into the packaging, as well as it says UNSC on the top of the box. On the back, we have a wide shot of some of the other figures in the series. When we zoom in a little bit closer, it does say Halo, the Spartan Collection. All the stuff that this Chief comes with, and an image of Chief. And then you do have the rest of the series on the bottom half here. George, those look pretty good, I will admit. And then we do have some of these logos like Xbox 343, Wicked Cool Toys, as well as a barcode in case you need it. Let's go ahead and get this figure out of the packaging. So here is the Combat Evolved version of Chief out of the box. And yeah, I may need to quit this line, unfortunately. I hate to say it. I try to be positive on the channel. I try to get figures that I have a good feeling aren't going to be bad. And a lot of the time, I have some pretty great figures that I'm reviewing. But this one is just not it, unfortunately. It's not god-awful. There's some good things about it, but the negatives definitely outweigh the positives. Let's take a look at the accessories, then we'll take a closer look at the figure. So one good thing I can say about this line is that they usually pack these full with a decent amount of accessories, including a lot of alternate hands. So as you can see, we have 2 fists here. The back of the hands are in this bright green paint, as you can see. You can see some details on the back, but I don't know, the sculpting in there isn't too predominant, so it's not the greatest sculpting. You get to like the knuckles of the fingers though; those look pretty decent. Some nice lines in there, and the rest of the hand is just very basic when it comes to the rest of the sculpt, except the inside of the palm right there. So that's pretty good. They got some details down fairly well. We also have these hands. The index finger is extended, so that way the character can be ambidextrous when it comes to holding the guns. So that's pretty nice. They stick out all the way straight instead of curving in, though. I don't think it'll be too much of a problem when it comes to holding the gun. And then we have this more signaling hand, which is, it just has 2 fingers pointing. And this is the only one we get. We don't get a right hand of this, though. We also get the classic, trying to focus up on you, the classic assault rifle. This, though, looks pretty good. Really dig it. Nice lighter grays with dark grays. All different types of grays in there. Even a little bit of bright green. The sculpt overall is very nice. It very much looks like the classic assault rifle, and I think they got it down very well. Even the stock and whatnot to the barrel. Now, we do have a hole here. A lot of you are familiar with this system where they actually have these little panels that pop out, so you see a hole in there. It keeps it hidden, so that way it actually works with the sculpt. And then you flip it around, and this one gave me a little bit of trouble when I was doing it earlier, but no, we're good. You pop it in there, and voila, it sticks on the back very nicely. Now, you can have a tendency of bringing that. Actually, it didn't do it that time. This will go, with this when you try to pull it out, but that time it didn't do it, so that's cool. We do also have one here on the side leg. Trying to pop that out real quick because this one's giving me a lot more trouble. We have the Magnum. This is the classic Magnum here. I think this one also looks really good. So it's molded in this that's got paint on the handle for a dark gray, molded in this it's still pretty dark gray going on there. Pretty good. You have a hole right there. All you have to do is insert it like so. try not to fling it like I did. And you should be able to pop it in like that. And it fits on there really nice. It's almost seamless. I mean, you can still tell, but it's still a very good system. I think that they've done well. Another good thing about this series, pretty much all the ones I own so far, you see the metallic, almost foil-like, detailing they have in the visor piece. Look, you can see my hand. That is, I've always liked that. It looks really good here. This is a really nice dark gold, very metallic. It's very shiny, and I think that it looks really, really awesome. The rest of it, I mean, I wouldn't say it's horrible detailing. Biggest issue overall when it comes to the details, a lot of things just look soft in the sculpt, like not too. It's just kind of like they started sculpting it, and instead of going a little bit more in depth with details, different intricate parts and whatnot, they just kind of said, okay, we're done. And I'm not, it's not to knock them specifically, because someone like Hasbro with Black Series, they kind of do it too. Like, look at Obi-Wan's skirt piece. That's not perfectly detailed, so it's not just them, but it still would have been nice to have a little bit, just a little bit, a better detailing. But the helmet itself, I think, is like the best part, I think, of the whole shebang here. This is a very nice looking helmet. We do have a little bit of a green chipping going on, this dark gray. One thing you also notice throughout the whole figure is that what they've done is they've kind of lightly dry brushed some metallic silver throughout the whole figure to make it look metallic. And while I commend the effort, it isn't perfect. Sometimes it's just not super easy to like discern where it is. So sometimes it just looks way too light green, and other times it will shine a light a little too aggressively. But it's really not that horrible. I mostly have problems with the articulation, which we'll get to later. Looking towards the back of the helmet, I derailed it a little bit. I do apologize. Pretty good detailing. Paintwork is solid when it comes to that dark gray going on in there. Everything else with the helmet looking pretty nice. Back out a little bit so you can see the torso. So, after looking at some screenshots of how Chief looks in the game, he's very, lots of polygons basically. Because that game was pretty old, so it doesn't look as intricate as new iterations, but they got it down here in figure form almost perfectly. I think they have a little bit of light blue going on there. The detailing in other parts, like the dark gray around the neck, is pretty good, with a nice sculpting. Then you get to like the light green stuff here. Again, looking a little soft, but still looks fine. And then, just tiny little parts of like gray splattered throughout the figure. You also have some light blue on these little, shoulder pads. You can see they attempted some detailing in the dark gray, in the shoulder joints there. And then you get down to the forearms. Really nice, big, bulky armor parts. See those pins. You have some paint. Paint is pretty good from what I've seen. There's not much splotching or anything. He comes with gripped hands, as you can see. So if you have other weapons in your arsenal of Halo weapon, Halo figures that you can use, there you go. Now we get down to the stomach here, and while this looks good, it also gets in the way of articulation, which again we'll talk about a little bit after the detail parts. I didn't notice that there is also some light blue there on the back, so that's cool. I'm trying to get this bad boy out. As you can see, there is a tiny bit of details like rivets on the back of this little panel here. And we're going to pop that back in. It stays in pretty nice. The ammo pouches themselves do look pretty good, the way that they're sculpted. Now we get down to like the crotch piece and the upper legs. They also have some nice light blue parts. Whatever's going on with this dark gray, I actually think that's detailed pretty well. Now, one thing you're going to notice, all that, whatever this, I don't know what these are exactly are supposed to be after all these years of seeing them on packaging and action figures, but that's a little distracting. That's also a little distracting. And then you get to the back here where they have all these, all this stuff here. So that's a little unfortunate. Kind of would have preferred they put it on the foot somehow, you know? So here is the leg. This is one of my biggest problems. This might be the biggest problem I have with the figure. So here's how the legs look. You know, pretty good. Lots of nice pieces to make it look, you know, like a uniform shape. So the sculpt isn't too broken up in the leg. Knee pad, all that looks good. The problem is because of how bulky this is, the way that they've designed it, it's not going to get a double joint knee, which I'd like to do the articulation not now, but that's it. That's the range of motion you're getting in a knee. That's got to be the worst knee bend I've ever seen on a double joint knee because of how it's sculpted. But we do have pretty decent sculpting for the shin pieces, and the boots looking pretty nice actually. So there's the top. I think the placement of the toe hinge, while I appreciate the toe hinge, is a little weird. I don't know, there's some parts that just make this look a little unnatural. Also, it's very stiff on mine, so if you have this figure, this one in particular is super stiff. So now, look on the bottom, and we have some pretty nice treading for the boots. All that looks nice, and we do have some peg holes at the bottom of the feet. Lots of panels everywhere. There's not much I could talk about because I don't know every single little intricate detail, you know, like the name of certain things, like, you know, what these are supposed to be. I think they're supposed to be lights and whatnot. But what I will do for you guys is just give you a quick 360 look so you get a better idea of how everything looks all together, because I was pretty zoomed in on that. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, articulation time. Oh boy. So this head was very, very stiff. I was able to move it a little bit, but that's as far up as it goes. It's not horrible. It could be better. I think this is actually better. And then that happens too. I think that's better than the Infinite Chief. It goes down a little bit. It's just very stiff. The head can go all the way around, but you know, the back will get in the way of that. So that's okay. We used to get a butterfly joint, from my understanding, with the Infinite Chief. I don't think we have one here, but it does. The arms do go all the way around here at the shoulders. They actually go out pretty decently. Upper arm swivel is pretty good. We do have double joint elbows that some of the armor pieces get in the way, but that's still a pretty good bend. And unlike Infinite Chief, the arm can actually go all the way straight out, so that's nice. I don't know if they've fixed that by how many Infinite Chiefs they released so far. We do have a swivel here at the wrist. This is a hinge at the wrist. It's for all sets of hands he comes with. This is also the biggest problem with the articulation is the ball joint at the waist. It swivels that much, but it stops because of how that's sculpted. It doesn't want to go back and forth at all, and it pops out. And of course, first of all, you can take that out, so that's kind of interesting. It will go back on, of course, but you know, if there wasn't here, and you know, anything in this stomach, it can go do all of this. So that's cool, but I can't really fault them because they're going accurate with the sculpt for the ammo pouches and whatnot. If you can mod it somehow to where you have more space, and you know, if you're sculpting around here, I would recommend figuring that out. But ab crunch is horrible. Legs can go out about that far, almost like, you know, pretty much a 90-degree angle almost, compared to going straight down. So that's pretty good. It goes back just a tiny bit. You do have pretty decent thighs there. Don't do a perfect split, but that's okay. And these armor pieces won't rub up on the crotch piece, so that's good. Upper thigh swivel doesn't really go back that much, but can go forward pretty good. And then the horrible, horrible, horrible double joint knees. That's not even a 90-degree angle. That's really bad. The ankle goes down pretty good though. It goes up decently. And then it should have an ankle rocker, but it just kind of looks like a swivel the way it's done. And then I can't bend that one, but I do get a toe hinge out of this one. So for quick size comparisons, this is almost every Spartan Collection figure I own besides Emil. We have Jerome, Cat, Infinite version of Chief, as well as Noble 6. They all scale pretty well with each other. I think the one in the middle of the Combat Evolved version might be a little bit taller than the Infinite version, though. Then for some other size comparisons, on the far left, we actually have the McFarlane Toys Halo 2 version of Master Chief, which is pretty short. Marvel Legends Black Suit Spider-Man, Clone Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars The Black Series. On the far right, we have Spartan Collection Halo. So this guy towers over a lot of them. I believe he is in 1/12 scale. Overall, yeah, I'm not a particularly big fan of this figure, and unfortunately, I think this is where I stop the Spartan Collection in my collection here, which is unfortunate because I think Jazwares and Wicked Cool Toys have done some pretty good stuff with this line. They've done some pretty good stuff with other lines that they make too, like, they used to make Fortnite and whatnot. So they're, a good company. It's just that I think that they really haven't made the improvements that they overall need to. I mean, the Infinite version of Chief, when that came out in 2020, that was one of my favorite figures of the year, actually. I did just kind of gone stagnant with the line. This figure in particular is not great. It's not god-awful. I'm not going to get on a soapbox and say this is the worst figure I've ever owned in my entire life. I've owned some really bad figures. It's just that this one in particular, for me, is probably my least favorite of the year. There's good things about it, especially the helmet and the visor piece are really good. I do think the green on this guy is supposed to be a little bit darker, but it captures the look of Combat Evolved Chief really well with different paint apps like the blues and the dark grays and whatnot. Even some of the panels sculpted in here. The switching, you have the basically the holstering system for the weapons is really nice. Has a lot of really nice hands and whatnot. It's a little one of the right hands is a little bit loose on my particular figure though, but some parts of the sculpt are just a little bit not super detailed like they should be. Articulation, in particular the head where it's stiff, the torso where you can't do a crunch or much of a rotation, and the double joint knees, which is one of the worst double joints I've ever seen. Like I said, yeah, not great. So if you do need a Combat Evolved version of Chief for your collection, you just want it to stand there and it's one you need that's more recent, figure wise, I would probably pick up this one. If you want one that's a lot better though, I would try to track down a From Toys version or a 1000 Toys version, which I know can be really hard to get. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment down below what you think about the figures, what you think about the review. Leave a like, share amongst your friends. Follow me on Instagram for more content over there, and I'll see you guys later.